This video is gonna be a mess. Hi, welcome back. I hate politics. No matter where I go or who I'm with, politics always manages to show up and find its way into a conversation. If you've been watching my videos for a while now, you'll know that I'm pretty open with my beliefs as well as with my opinions. I like to cover things that I find to be interesting or share things that I feel I need to provide a new perspective on. In order to do that, I obviously need to research things as well as learn more about the topics that may require it. And the way I do it is I try my best to be as objective as I possibly can. To do that, I don't just look for one source in order to then believe that that is the fact of the matter. What I try my best to do is look for multiple sources and hear from different points of views, so that way I can then formulate a solid opinion or at least a belief that suits with my ideals. With politics, it's no different. I try my best to be as objective as I possibly can, no matter what the topic is. And if there's something that I don't know anything about that does tie itself into politics, I will try my best to listen. I'll try my best to learn, because at the end of the day, I would rather learn more about something so that way I can go forward and now have new knowledge about the subject matter, rather than just making baseless assumptions and having no care in the world about the topic and then just spreading a bunch of bullshit that has nothing to do with it whatsoever. But to be completely honest with you, I just don't like talking about it. At least not as much as maybe a normal person would. For me, the problem with bringing up politics is that there's always going to be an assumption, there's always going to be a judgment. And that's to be expected. But I do find it to be annoying every single time that I do something, or I'm watching something, or if I just go out of my way to get something, apparently I am making a political statement. I want to watch a movie on a specific streaming service. You're making a political statement. I like a social media post by a certain influencer. I'm making a political statement. I can't even go to a fucking Chick-fil-A and get a chicken sandwich without people all of a sudden making assumptions and then just claiming that I'm making a political statement, when in reality, I'm just fucking hungry. No matter what, politics is unavoidable. It's a part of our everyday life. And I've come to accept that. No matter how much I hate it and no matter how much I try to avoid it, it's always going to be there, and someone's always going to bring it up in a conversation. Of course, as I've been growing and as I've been going on with life, I've learned to adapt as well as to be open to ideas and beliefs that may be new to me or may be things that I have no idea what it is. Because when the conversation does come up, or when somebody does bring it up, I would like to be at least somewhat familiar with it, or at least somewhat aware of it. So that way, if for whatever reason somebody has to ask for my opinion, I would at least have something. Now, if you were to bring up certain political topics in the past with me, I wouldn't have been like that. I would have been the complete opposite. I was raised in a pretty religious household. It wasn't a strict upbringing, but nevertheless, I had parents who were very, very faithful and who were very adamant about making sure that I could be the same way. So that alone should probably tell you a little bit about how I was raised and how I was taught in terms of political beliefs or in terms of moral teachings and maybe just life in general. Although it might just be a stereotype and it might just be an assumption that people place on people who were raised religiously, you wouldn't be wrong in my case. Growing up, I believed that my parents' word was law, and as well as their beliefs. Whatever they taught me about the world or about certain things going on in our world, I took it seriously, and I took it to heart. So whenever I would have conversations with people that were pertaining to political topics, and it would have to revolve around the beliefs, the principles, or the doctrine that I was raised with, of course, I would be open about stating what I believed in as well as what I was taught. And of course, I was wrong. Because I was young and because I was not capable of thinking for myself at the time, I only believed in what my parents taught me. And I gave them the benefit of the doubt that what they were teaching me and what they were showing me was good. It was with good intentions. It was meant to be a good way of living and a good way about thinking of the world. Now, it took a lot of arguments, it took a lot of name calling, and it took a lot of fucking time before I realized that I was wrong. More than just wrong, I was just being an idiot. Of course, I can just make excuses all day about how my parents were the ones that taught me to be this way or taught me that this was correct and how they were the ones who try to push all these beliefs and ideas into me, but it's not their fault. It's obviously the lack of open-mindedness that I should have had at a younger age, as well as the ability to be less selfish and be more empathetic towards the people who were trying to show me that I was wrong, as well as trying to teach me how this makes more sense than whatever my parents were teaching me. And I'm not saying that the religion I grew up with is at fault either. I actually tend to respect people who were raised religiously, or at least had a religious upbringing as a child. The reason is because I believe religion does a fairly good job at providing a moral guidance for people. It gives a person a basic idea of what's right and what's wrong in a general sense. Now, like I said, it's a moral guidance. What they teach and what they preach, as well as what they're trying people to believe in, is not the moral law of the world. The point that I'm trying to make is when you take ideas or when you take a doctrine or when you take certain principles too seriously, you end up with people who just become extremists. It most certainly applies to politics. No matter what side of the spectrum you're on, there's always going to be extremists. And how do you think these extremists come to be? It happens because people are taking things like religion too seriously. And when I say too seriously, I mean they are taking scriptures at face value instead of actually trying to look beyond the words of a certain book or a certain doctrine or a certain gospel that's being preached. And the sad thing is, that's how I was. That's how I know there are people like that. They don't try to open themselves up to learning, to actually going out of their way to hearing people who have different ideas, who have different beliefs. So that way they can then go into the world with a lot more empathy. The one thing that I would expect people with a religious upbringing, or at least with some kind of tie to a certain religion, is that they would learn what it means to be empathetic, what it means to share ideas and share beliefs and not try to just look down on people for being different, not trying to put labels on people or misjudge people just because they believe something or just because they are somebody who's different than them. People are going to die by their beliefs and die by their principles because that's how they were raised, or maybe because they get something out of it, whether it be money or fame. They'll say whatever it is that they want to say just so that way people can give them attention. As I said before, and even in a video that I made in the past, I don't try to assume the worst in people. I don't go out of my way to put people down just because they believe something different than me or because they're not the same as me. I try to go out of my way to learn from people, and I go out of my way to shut up and actually listen to the people who are different from me, because these are the opportunities that allow me to grow as a human being. But sadly, there are too many people on the internet and there are too many people in our world who would just rather let their own voice be louder than everybody else's and prove that these people who are different from them, and prove that the people who are trying their best to help them understand what the problem is or why they are causing harm to certain individuals, that they were right all along, and that no matter what anyone else says, those people with different values, different beliefs, they're wrong. And therefore, they shouldn't be taken seriously. And therefore, they shouldn't have rights. And therefore, nobody should give them the time or day to hear them out. Because why would they? It's so fucked up how people are just ignoring the voices of those that need to be listened. The marginalized groups that are trying so hard to just live and survive and be happy, but they don't get a say in the matter. They don't get to be taken seriously. And to the people who do have power, who do have privileges, and do have the say in the matter, they just ignore them. And to an extreme point, they don't even treat them like humans. It doesn't matter which side you're on. It doesn't matter how you were raised. It doesn't matter what beliefs you hold. In my opinion, I don't think the government should be allowed to control what a woman does with her body. I don't think it's right that people to this day look down on gay people or trans people. It's not how our society should be. We should not be treating them different just because they want to be who they are. And it's certainly not right that the Israeli government is committing genocide to thousands upon hundreds of thousands of Palestinians every day. And to make matters worse, people outside of the Middle East are supporting the Israeli government, are supporting the genocide that they are committing right now. All because their political beliefs align with them. All because they believe this makes sense, this is fine. What's wrong with them doing the right thing? It's fucked up. It's vile. It's disgusting. Anytime I come across somebody like that, who believes that, who is as extreme as that, I just feel angry. I feel sad. And it's exactly the reason why I just don't like politics. Because it doesn't matter what side you're on. How hard is it for you to find the gray area in a situation? I don't know why people struggle with this, but to be fair, I struggled with this. So hopefully they will learn to be more open and actually try and listen for once. But I'm gonna make it as clear as I possibly can. The world is not as simple as black and white. If you are the type of person who does not believe in a gray area, then you shouldn't even bother talking to me. You shouldn't even bother being around me for that matter. I don't trust people who think that there is no motive, there is no real reason for why things happen, just that they're monsters or they are different from us. They don't believe in the same things we do. They look a certain way, they act a certain way, they represent something. So therefore, they're just like anybody else who does bad things. Our values change along with history. At one point in the past, people believed that the world was the center of the universe. And anybody who tried to disprove that, anyone who tried to share any opposition to that belief would be considered a heretic who's just trying to spread falsehoods and will infect the minds of others and lead the world into chaos. But now we look back at that and we think about how silly it was, how absolutely ridiculous that people believed that the earth was the center of the universe, how people believed that the earth was flat. We don't think about how serious the matter was when people brought up how silly that was, how ridiculous that was, how they were wrong all along, because those people who did bring that up would end up putting their life at risk. You go back a couple hundred years ago, people treated black people like property. They were slaves who had no value. They were treated less than dirt. And people thought that that was fine. But as time went on, as the years went by and people tried to fight against that, people tried to let people understand that that was wrong. And now they're finally treated like human beings. Obviously, there are still problems and there's still a bad perception that certain people have with people of different races. But time went on and our values finally changed and we finally decided to wake up and face reality. This is what I mean by how our values change along with history. It's so dumb that people are not actually taking the opportunity to look at history and realize, that was pretty bad. Maybe we should stop doing those things that happened in the past right now because, I don't know, maybe it's pretty fucked up. Those people need to actually learn from the mistakes that have happened in the past so that they can make a better future for everybody. But certain people were just born into opportunity, so they can afford to look at things in black and white. They have the luxury to just look at someone who is considered different and mistreat them or treat them anything but human. It's annoying. It's infuriating. It's just so vile. All I could ever ask for is for people to just be open, for people to actually learn, to make an effort to just accept if they are wrong, and to apply logic to the scenario that's placed in front of them so that they understand the situation better. They are trying too hard to defend the values and the beliefs that they thought were right. But as soon as somebody comes in, provides them with logic to a scenario, they freak out. They feel like they've been wronged. They feel like they've been lied to their entire life. And asking them to change on the spot might seem easy for you, but for them, it's a lot. Which is why you should also try to be patient with people who are willing to learn, who are willing to change because they realize that maybe they were wrong. You shouldn't be mad at someone just because they misgender you for the first time after meeting you for the first time. You shouldn't be angry with them just because they don't understand the struggles that women have to go through. You have to help them understand, because otherwise, how else do you expect people to take you seriously? How else do you expect people to listen to you? If all you're doing is being malicious, if all you're doing is persecuting them, if all you're doing is hating them, the people with no rationality, the people without an open mind, the people who aren't willing to listen, You shouldn't even bother with them, because trust me, they are a waste of fucking time. They let their pride and their ego get the better of them, and so it prevents them from facing reality. And so they are unable to feel empathy towards marginalized groups or respect marginalized groups, because they don't care about the problems they face and they don't want to understand their problems. But people who are going to listen, people who are trying to learn, people who are trying their best to be better, who just want to be happy, who just want to make other people happy, who want people to not have to be miserable for no fucking reason. Those people deserve your help. You don't have to take what I say seriously. You don't have to believe in what I believe in. You don't have to abide by a certain doctrine or a certain ideology. You just have to be human. And I believe that a human is allowed to make mistakes, but you at least have to make an effort to learn from them. You have to try and listen. You have to try and be more empathetic. How else are you going to be happy? Stop listening to these celebrities and influencers who are imposing ideas on you that what they believe in is right and what they believe in is facts. Those are the people that don't give a shit about anyone other than themselves. You should be listening to people who are objective, who are actually making an effort to research things, to apply logic to things, to show you why this is wrong, why this is vile, why this is disgusting, why people should stop trying to support it. And those are the people that I go to, that I listen to when I'm trying to get information from a political topic, when I'm trying to learn more about the world and trying to improve my knowledge on certain things that I have no idea what it's about. In the end, I hate politics because there are too many people who only see things in black and white. And unfortunately, the people who do find a gray area, there aren't that many of them. And I only hope there can be more people like that. And hopefully this video can help you be like that. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Thanks again for watching, and keep being awesome.